the fun begins, really.
Yeah, I do agree with you to some extent because, because people say to you, well, if you've not tried it, how do you know you're not going to like it?
That's right. That's right.
You know what I mean? Which isn't always true. For instance, when it comes to harmful, substances or whatever, and they say, well, if you haven't tried it, are you going to know if it's not good for you? Well, I know it's not good for me because it's coke. You know?
Mm. Yeah, that's right.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Yeah. So that would be one instance where that would be an example of an instance where that
yeah,
doesn't apply. But then I do like a good challenge. I do
absolutely. Yeah, that's good. That's
Yeah, I
good.
do like a good challenge. Only if it's not gonna put me in harm's way. Only if it's
Yeah.
not gonna directly put me in harm's way. Say for instance, I wouldn't go skydiving. I would
No,
never do
nor
that.
would I.
I would never do it. Um, what's that one you do on the snow? With
Well, skiing.
Yeah, skiing. Well, I, I would never ride on a horseback because of the Superman guy that broke his back. Do you
Yeah,
remember? Do you
yeah.
remember? Yeah, yeah.
Christopher Reeve. Christopher
Yeah,
Reeve,
yeah,
wasn't it?
that's
Yeah.
that's the one. Yeah, Christopher Reid. So things that have a sort of and I tell you what I would do though, and I know it's very dangerous, and it's race car. I do it
Yeah.
actually. I would race a car, or I would race in a car, and I know it's dangerous. But I think it's my love for the, car racing because I do love car racing. Not the F1. The F,
Right.
yeah, that one's boring because it's just going around in a circle. You know, that's what it seems to me.
Quite safely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes. I mean, I remember one thing that actually happened just last year on the same sort of subject. And I
right,
mean, going back over some years, I'm a musician like you are, and I've played in a few bands, um, a couple of trios, doubles, duos, and on my own. I've even busked a few times.
wow. You
So I
have?
always feel that's strangely, really, that is my within my comfort zone. I do like performing. I like an audience, and okay, everybody gets first minute nerves when you go out on a stage to play the guitar, either on your own or in a band. But almost instantly, I feel very comfortable, and I've done a lot of that over the past, the recent past as well.
Right.
Um, but one thing that happened, I went to see a show. We went to see a show last August. You probably heard of it. Heathers, it's called. It's quite a good musical, Heathers.
Right.
And towards the end, it was great. Now, the pair of us, we were in the front row, but to the side. And towards the end, it's presumably in the script of Heathers, which I do recommend as a play or musical to watch. Um, there were lots of attractive women and guys in this, and then they all sort of moved over. The whole ensemble seemed to move over to the side of the stage directly in front of me where we were sitting.
Yeah.
And I sort of thought, uh-oh, is something going to happen here? And sure enough, one of the women pointed to me
Yeah.
and she said, "You're Steve." Now, this is obviously in the script of this show, I imagine. "You're
Right.
Steve." And she said, "Steve, I love you." And of course, I'm thinking, this is not exactly my comfort zone, this, because it's a full up theatre as well.
Right.
Anyway, at that point, she started to sing this song to me. I'm trying to think what it was. Um, doesn't really matter, but it was a good song. She had a lovely voice,
Right.
and it was very much directed. Obviously, she was singing it to me, leaning down on the stage, and I just sort of smiled and did what you do, feel slightly awkward.
Yeah.
Anyway, at the end, she's finished her song and said, "Steve, you were brilliant," something like that. And then all the cast
Yeah.
all moved over again, and they were
Yeah.
looking at me and clapping me as if I had done something at all.
Yeah.
And then what happened? The audience started to clap. I think they were cajoled into doing that.
Right.
And she said to me, "Stand up, stand up." So I found myself, I stood up, turned around, and people were whooping and cheering, obviously taking part in the atmosphere of the show.
Yeah.
And I actually found myself doing this, come on, cheer some more, which I thought, what the hell am I doing? I mean, I didn't stand up with a view to doing that. I almost felt I should have got up on the stage. But I think the point was, I did. I would have thought when she started singing, oh, I feel a bit awkward about this. But
Yeah.
I think because it is very much part of my comfort zone to have an audience,
Right.
I
Yeah.
kind of, without thinking about it, played up to it, and I feel I can do that.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, I mean, like probably like most of us, I can be quite a shy person. I probably always have been. And although I like a party as much as anybody else, but on occasions, I suppose, depending on who you're talking to, if you're in a group of two or three, the small talk can get a little bit difficult. It's
Yeah.
not always easy to sort of come up with things, although I always, I always think I do probably tend to talk too much anyway, maybe as a defense mechanism. So I'm never really short of something to say, but certainly I'm much happier
Yeah.
facing an audience, usually with my guitar, the sort of piano, playing to them. And I suppose that's why I persevere like I do with my music, my songwriting, and so on, because I have that always that constant urge to want to perform my songs publicly and so on. So yeah, sometimes you don't think something's going to be. I mean, I thought that would be really awkward and embarrassing when she picked, to be picked out in a show, a theatre, or whatever by the person on the stage can be a bit stressful. But it
Yeah.
turned out not to be. It was absolutely something I relished. So yeah, it was an example of being still within a comfort zone.
Yeah. They always say when you go to a comedy show or a stand-up comedy show, don't sit in the front seat because you get picked on.
I think, I mean, I can't remember the rights of that. This was only last August, I think, and it's a local theatre, but it's quite a big theatre. And I don't recall specific. I don't even know whether it was me who bought the tickets, but yeah, I don't think I would normally go to the front, but not because I don't want to be picked on. I think it's quite fun, and I mean, in fact, my Lucy, she
Yeah.
actually loves if we take her to the theatre, and Kimberly as well. Kimberly really wouldn't want to be picked on in the front row, but Lucy loves it, and she has been chosen. She was selected in a show at Guildford, um, again a year or so back, something called When Magic Goes Wrong, and it was an excellent show to watch. But she was pointed to at one stage and sort of wandered up onto the stage, and she was very much in her element. But again, she's doing her performing arts, so I think it's
Yeah.
up her street.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, she was
Yeah.
good. She was good.
That's right. You mentioned that this is very important. This is very it's very important, Trevor. You mentioned that you've done basking before. You
Yeah,
wow. I look at people that do that and I think they must be very brave. Do you know what I mean? Well, that's
yeah.
it-
Probably 5 or 6 years ago, we actually were walking in. I was having a lunch in a
yeah,
place fairly local called East Grinstead, having just had lunch in a very nice pub where it was an excellent, lovely waitress, and I actually wrote waitress in the restaurant. I don't know
yeah,
if you remember that song of mine,
yeah,
the waitress in the restaurant.
waitress in the
Yeah, so that was very much based on her. And anyway, walking back from lunch towards the car park afterwards, we noticed a pop-up shop, which it was great. It was kind of very bohemian. There was all sorts of stalls in there and bohemian people, like ladies with pearls and I suppose gypsy-like, really,
yeah.
selling all sorts of things, all sorts of different things in there. So we wandered around, and then talking to somebody, and they said, "Well, if you're interested."